ASU plays Baylor tonight in the first round of the Big 12 tournament, and I'm pretty sure, no expert here, but pretty sure a pitchfork skewers a bear. Let's go.
You are Locked On Sun Devils, your daily podcast on the Arizona State Sun Devils. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On Sun Devils, your daily Arizona State Sun Devils, a podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. My name is Philip Mulford. We got Parker right there. Thank you so much for making Locked On Sun Devils your first listen every single morning. We're both big ASU fans, even when it's hard. This past weekend, and it's a new day. It's a new week. There's a basketball tournament going on. There's a great big crooked number. Pretty sure there's a baseball score. We'll talk about it later on in the show. May not look like it. But before we get into that, of course, today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. FanDuel is giving you a way to turn that energy into an even bigger potential wins with a college basketball parlay profit boost. Head to FanDuel.com to get started. And Parker, I think I've gotten over this weekend. I'm pretty sure I've recovered from that second half of the Iowa State game, which is good because I hope ASU has done the same. We play Baylor tonight, first round of the playoffs, and this was a game that we should have won when we played them last week. How much do you think the team has learned in the ensuing, 3 weeks as we start to get ready for this for the tournament here?
I think the team has learned a lot about themselves in this time, but my big question is how much energy, how much does this team still have left in the tank going into this game? Because let's face it, coming into the last Baylor game where they lost 73-68, they were coming off of an electric high of taking down the number 13 Texas Tech Red Raiders 72-67. Now going into this Baylor game in the Big 12 tournament, they're coming off of a 21-point loss to Iowa State. So a dramatic decrease in vibes going into each of these games. But the big question I have is, what does Arizona State have left in their tank? I mean, this is a team that we've talked about. They've had injuries messing with the lineup. They've had players just not players. They've had games where they just continue to make mistakes despite starting off strong. And when you get into tournament time, you can't afford to have those mistakes. And I'm going to be really interested to see how they match up against a Baylor team that is really, really well coached by Drew. I mean, Coach Drew does a great job. But Bobby Hurley's troops, both teams have had a downtrodden year between ASU and Baylor. But Bobby Hurley's troops, they need to be the more well-coached team, and they need to be the better team in order to take down the Baylor Bears, and that includes committing less turnovers and out-rebounding Baylor. If they don't do both of those, they're not going to get the first-round win.
Yeah, so I have two thoughts about this, Parker, as we take a look. We compare ASU's end of the season after we played Baylor, and again, we should have beaten Baylor. We were up by 7 with 18 minutes left in the second half, and then the wheels came off. Your classic ASU doesn't have enough bodies, and if you don't have enough bodies, you don't have enough hype to carry you forward. It falls apart. But ASU has better wins than Baylor does to end the year, and we have worse losses. All right, we took down Texas Tech. You took down Kansas. Again, we're going to ignore Iowa State for the time being because if you give that many turnovers, I don't know what you're supposed to do. By comparison, every ranked team that Baylor played, they lost to. Yeah, they hung a fat score against Utah, but I mean, let's be real, Parker. Who hasn't hung a fat score against Utah, or realistically? So, yeah, to answer your question, how much gas is left in the tank? I think the first half tank is fine. Totally topped off. They got in there before gas prices started rising over the weekend, and they're fine. But ASU is a 2005 Honda Accord or something, or a 2005 Hummer. It does not get good gas mileage. So my big question is, how is the second half going to be? I have full confidence that we're going to do great in the first half. The second,
yeah, when you look at, it's going to be dicey. And you're right. When you look at these resumes, and to me, this tells the tale of how these teams have done throughout this season. Arizona State, when you look at what they've done throughout this year, they've lost to teams that, quite frankly, they're better than. They've done that throughout this season. They're better than Oregon State. They're better than Colorado. Yeah, you can argue that they're even better than West Virginia. There's an argument there. And it's happened all throughout this season. You can argue that they're better than Baylor even. But Baylor, the only times that I can plainly see on their schedule they lost to a team that they're better than is Memphis. And then there's an argument that they're better than Kansas State. Kansas State fired their head coach. There's an argument there. This is a Baylor team that plays up to the competition that it faces. It hasn't really worked out for them as they've lost to, quite frankly, every high-quality team that they've played. But Arizona State, to their credit, they also play up to their competition, but at the same time, they also play down to the teams that they play. And we've seen that every single week throughout this year, Phil.
Yeah, I'd almost rather Baylor be like ranked 20 or something. Like, I would rather them be, okay, playing a number 2 team. Like, if we played Michigan, okay, I got no hope. But, if we're playing a lower ranked team that, sure, ASU plays up to that. They play to, they get a little extra fire in their bellies and they get an upset. But this team that I think by all metrics we're saying they should have beaten in the first time. So you got that in the back of your head. Plus it's a neutral court, so you don't have Desert Financial Arena backing you up, which, I mean, ASU have been kind of home merchants this year. Our home and away splits are very, very different. Again, the amount we beat 2 ranked teams at home, we didn't get particularly close on the road. Yeah, it's going to be interesting. I think we talked about it in the recap of the Iowa State game, but making sure that we don't commit that many turnovers, making sure that we actually get offensive rebounds, making sure that we get to the line. This is the key for any team to win a game. But if I'm Bobby Hurley and I've got like a couple days to get us ready for this Baylor game, right, Saturday until Tuesday, I am making us doing pass drills, or I'm making us do pass drills. I'm making us do like ball security drills, because if you don't have a 15 turnover difference, you're always going to be in a good spot to win a game.
Very true. For this ASU game, I also have 2 questions that we'll see if we get answered. First one being is, how important is it to play the same team twice in a season? And how hard is it to beat the same team twice? That's what Baylor is going to find out, because this is a game that Arizona State feels like they lost and Baylor feels like they won outright. So that there are 2 entirely different viewpoints on this game from both teams. Baylor felt like they dominated the entire game, and Arizona State feels like this is a game that they let slip by, that Baylor didn't win, that Arizona State lost. So 2 entirely different outlooks on this game. ESPN gives Baylor a 70% chance to win this game, according to FPI. And the other question I have is, how much does neutral site history favor ASU in this game? Because Arizona State is 4-1 this season when it comes to playing on neutral sites. Their only loss coming in the Maui Invitational to USC, that 88-75 loss. But the other neutral site wins, Texas, Washington State, Oklahoma, and Santa Clara. Those are all quality wins. So you say ASU has done well at home. They've also done well at neutral sites. Now, Kansas City is a little bit of a different animal because there's a lot more fan bases traveling to those games than the other neutral site games that ASU has been at. But I do think it's something to consider for ASU heading into this game.
Yeah. Follow-up question. How do you handle the distraction of a TV that's your basketball court? I don't know if you saw some of I don't know if you watched any of the women's tournament, but I mean, you hit a shot from beyond the arc is lighting up. You know, there's the crazy thing, actually, I think they fixed this, but you couldn't see half court because it was kind of the same color as this weird gray that the court was.
Yeah. My question is they go through all this like ingenuity, innovation to make the court look awesome, because it's a good idea.
Yeah,
it's
cool.
A good idea. It's a cool idea.
We can fit more ads per capita.
Yeah, and the standard court design you come up with is just the same court design they had last year, and they're rocking with it every game. I'm just like, this is a really awesome opportunity, like to throw in some logos for each team on the court, and you can just like phase them in and out, like mix up the colors a little bit based on each team, like maybe add some more Big 12 stuff, more court designs that you can mix up with every quarter, because why not try it out?
You know what would be really cool is if
Mm.
each team side is a full branding takeover of that team. So the ASU side is gold on the court. It's got maroon,
like
maroon
a bowl
line
game,
markings. There's a pitchfork in the key. Might be a little too distracting. I don't know how it would look on TV. Don't know how it would mess with the players. But Baylor is all it's green. It's got the tan that Baylor uses. It's got a bear. That would be really cool. That's kind of a celebration of the Big 12.
Yeah.
Missed opportunities.
I also think if you want to take it to the next level during timeouts, if you want to have the court fill up with the percent chance to win that one team has in one
that
color,
is toxic.
You could be like, Arizona State, they're up to Baylor's free throw line. We'll see if they hold on with their chance to win.
And the players are just looking over, and they're
just looking down at it.
If you really says we have a 10% chance to win, why are we playing this?
If you want to take it to the next level and try something new, I mean, just throw it out there.
You could green screen, like the different sport, like I think soccer does this, where they just have big green boxes and the different TV broadcasts green screen it out. You could do something like that where you just have green boxes and then the broadcast puts the win chance on the court so it doesn't actually mess with the players. Because
I think
that's pretty toxic.
Not a bad idea. Yeah.
You get Bobby Hurley like, the court says we're 90% to win this game. Don't screw it up.
See, that's what I'm saying though. Like, if I was a player and I saw like ESPN analytics just like giving us to our own restricted area, I'm gonna be like, I bet. We'll see if we can change that. I think it would be something fueling, but at the same time, I get why they hold off. But once again, I think that just shows how many opportunities there are with this court. Because that was me sitting around for 5 minutes coming up with ideas.
Yeah, I think it depends on how bad the percentage is. Like if it's 90-10, you're like, but if it's 55-45, maybe that is some bulletin board material. But yeah, the game is happening at, let me do my conversions, 9:30 Arizona time. If you're watching this as it happens live, if you're watching it after the fact, well, hopefully we won and we're ready to talk about the next game. I'll be watching. It's going to be a good time. But we got some interesting news coming out of the draft ecosystem in the most recent weekend. Apparently that's hard to say. About Myles Rouser, about how he's actually moving up the draft boards. We're going to talk about that in just a second. See you then.
This episode is brought to you by Robinhood. What if sports were traded like markets? Now you can put the sports IQ to work in real time with Robinhood prediction markets. It's not you against the house. It's you participating in a live market. You can buy or sell positions live, all game long. Use your sports knowledge in the moments that matter. Robinhood prediction markets changes the game. It's people moving the action. So when momentum shifts, you can move with it. I always knew the game, but never had a dynamic way to apply that knowledge. Now I can actually take part, live, in a market powered by people. You're no longer just a spectator. Play by play, you decide. Trade every play with Robinhood. Now available across the U.S. Download the Robinhood app now to begin. Futures and cleared swaps trading involves significant risk and is not appropriate for everyone. Event contracts offered by Robinhood Derivatives LLC, a registered futures commission, merchant, and swap firm. This episode is also brought to you by TurboTax. It's tax time, but for a lot of us, the old way of doing taxes, it's a lot. Trying to book an appointment that's not the most convenient, sitting in a waiting room with a stack of papers, emailing back and forth and wondering if they really get your situation. But this year, you're getting a major upgrade. Intuit TurboTax now has in-person locations nationwide. You can meet face-to-face with a real tax expert, and your documents get uploaded straight to your TurboTax app on the spot. And just like that, you're done. Your TurboTax expert works to get you every dollar you deserve while you get real-time notifications as you go about your day. It's the relief of walking in, meeting a real person, and walking out knowing your taxes are being handled right. Head to turbotax.com/local to find a store near you and book your appointment.
And if you've been thinking about joining the Everyday Air Club, now's the time. Again, you get ad-free shows. We've talked about that. You get access to the Discord, all the different channels that are going on to talk about the Sun Devils and Big 12 and college football and the World Baseball Classic. And if you're signed up before the NCAA tournament tips off in a couple days, you can get into our Everyday Air Club bracket pool on Discord for a chance to win Locked On merch. Should be a lot of fun. I'm going to be doing it. Parker's going to be doing it. I'm still not sure what my strategy is, whether I want to go based on which mascot would win in a head-to-head fight, color theory. Still trying to figure that out because actually trying to guess based on team's performance is just is doomed to failure. Right now, though, you can use code MARCH, M-A-R-C-H, to get your first month free. So make sure to head on over to lockedonsundevils.supercast.com or tap the link in the show notes to find out a little bit more. Parker, Myles Rouser was not invited. Sorry, Myles Ghost Rouser was not invited to the combine. He had a great year. He had a great time at ASU, not invited to the combine. But apparently, out of these different draft interviews that have been happening, a couple teams are all of a sudden very high on him in a way they weren't previously.
Yeah, the Giants and the Niners, they've taken the time to interview them. They both previously scouted him at the Shrine Bowl. And Rouser's a guy who, when he has a chip on his shoulder, when he's doubted, he is really dangerous. I mean, you're talking about a 2-time transfer. Came from the Campbell Camels, then New Mexico State, was doubted at both those places, then transferred to Arizona State, was doubted when he first came on campus. And man, you talk about a player that just plays with passion, because he's not only a player you can see on the field, he's a player you can hear. He is a vocal player, but not only can you hear him on the sidelines, you can also hear the pop that he lays. He is a powerful, powerful man, and he is shooting up some respective draft boards. And there's a lot of reasons why. Mainly, I like his athleticism. I like what he brings to the table. I think he's a guy who can really fit us any scheme that you would imagine. I think he needs a little work in pass coverage. Only had one career interception that came in 2023. Never had one in the Big 12. But to me, he's a guy who, if you get him under the right system, kind of like what we've been talking about with Max Ahanicher. I know Myles Rouser has had a little more experience in football, but I still think he's a defensive back where if you coach him under the right system, if he's still hanging around late second round, third round, you snag him. He is going to be a guy that will lead your team in the coming years if under the right development and under the right coaching.
It's kind of interesting. There was an article you talk about the Giants and the 49ers. One of the media people in and around the Giants ecosystem, don't know if this is because they got a tip that Giants were looking at him or just they said, hi, I really like Myles Rouser, let's do coverage. He had him as a year one contributor, which is not a third round draft pick. That's not a fourth round draft pick. That's first or second round generally. So that was kind of cool. So, more to your point, if you're saying, if he's available in the third round, and some analysts are saying, he can not start maybe year one, but be a year one contributor. Well, that's a steal. I got to say, though, Parker, I am a little bit worried about his penalties. If I'm a team looking at this, I'm going to say, well, you averaged a penalty every other game at ASU. It was 11 penalties in 2 seasons. That's roughly one every other game. It's not the worst. I mean, we have seen players that are every day. You're hearing their name in the penalty box, or not the penalty box, but you're hearing their name after a yellow flag like every single, maybe even twice a game sometimes. But it's not great. And if you are, you're playing on the defense, you're really trying to make sure that you're this impact guy, literally in Rouser's case, undoing a lot of that with these unnecessary penalties. Parker, I guess it's two sides of the same coin, right? Because he plays with so much passion. Like, he is the chippy guy. He is, as the SI writer said, he's a dog. He's going to go after you. sometimes that passion goes from controlled aggression to maybe a little bit too uncontrolled.
Yeah, and if I'm a scout, I also look at the team as a whole. Because let's face it, Arizona State as a whole had a penalty problem. So
Mhm.
now the question is, how much is it Rouser and how much is it that committing penalties is contagious on the team that they're at? And Arizona State had a problem teaching players how to, or coaching players into not being as aggressive when it comes to committing penalties. So there's another lens you can look at it. I think it's something to be concerned about, but at the same time, it's something you can coach these players on. What I'm concerned about is the other weaknesses that the Giants listed. They talked about his frame being too thin, which is a concern. He is 6'1", 195 pounds, and you wouldn't expect it with how much he lowers the shoulder, lowers the boom on these players. His frame is a little too small for the hits that he wants and winds up to take. He's a little wild into contact and relies a lot on his shoulders. And if you can imagine him doing that on like a Kyle Juszczyk or any other big running back, a Derrick Henry, not going to go too well in the NFL. And overall, they talked about wanting to work on his tackling mechanics and how he relies on his athleticism too much and ends up getting him out of position. My question is, Phil, when it comes to these detractions from his game, does this if you're a GM, do you pass on him, or do you think, no, we can coach him into being better with all these weaknesses that he has?
Well, first of all, that sounds like a toxic relationship. Don't worry, I can fix him. He's great outside of all of these glaring red flags. I can fix him. In fairness, we're talking about a little bit different. I think the frame thing can be solved by, going to play for an NFL team and just living in their chow hall.
Yeah.
Because seriously, NFL teams, if you ever watch some of the behind the scenes stuff they have going on, it is, and in fairness, college teams do this too, but NFL has a whole lot more money. You have everyone's got their own meal plan that is being worked on with nutritionists. They come in, they're pretty much eating in season and even in off season, 3 meals a day there or more if they need to. So I don't know, the frame, you are a grown man at this point, so you can't say, well, comes in a freshman a little small. But I think strength and conditioning, nutritionists, you can maybe solve some of that. The relying on athleticism is just something he's not going to be allowed to get away with in the NFL. You can get away with that in college. Not every single player on both sides of the ball is an NFL level player. But in the NFL, everyone is the best player on their team from college. So relying, as you said, on like, I'm going to be close enough, I can go in. Not quite true. Now, is that coachable? I feel like Rouser cares enough about his performance that it probably is. But yeah, that's a question that GMs are going to have to go in and flip the coin on. I'm not, especially when there are other defensive backs in the draft, that maybe are a little bit more locked on.
No.
Point there. On their wrong direction.
Oh.
Look the other way.
Yeah. I'll get used to it eventually. It's not like we've been doing this for a minute, Phil.
Yeah, only about a minute and a half. It's good. But yeah, it's like, okay, so you have these problems. There are other DBs in the draft that don't have these problems, but maybe not have the upside. How do you split that calculus? I don't know.
Yeah, that's my main question is, when you compare Rouser to the other defensive backs, what separates him? Because when you look at him from a numbers perspective and you look at him by these ratings, not too much. But of course, as me and Phil, and anybody who's been to practice can tell you how important Rouser is. He's a gamer. He's a guy that you want on the sideline with his attitude, with his tenacity. And I think that's why these interviews are going so well for him. And I think that's why coaching staffs will fall in love with him in these interviews, is because you can feel his passion for the game. You can feel how much this sport means to him. You can tell how much he wants to be a part of organizations that want him. And I think that's going to be a good case for Rouser to shoot up some draft boards on respective teams.
And hey, if it doesn't work out, love to have him back like we had with Leaf Fontano. Just the passion guy on the sidelines that's going to teach these players a lot. But unfortunately, Gotta stop talking about this because while we talked about ASU baseball having a kind of a rough road trip down to my neck of the woods, they put up a they put up a football score. That's probably closer to the truth in the game they played the other day. Unfortunately, though, they got some bad news to go along with it. We'll talk about that in just a second. College basketball is nonstop. There are big games, there are tight spreads, momentum swings happen multiple times a night. From early tip-offs to late-night West Coast shootouts, there's always action on the board. And now FanDuel is giving you a way to turn that energy into even bigger potential wins with a college basketball parlay profit boost. You can build any college hoops parlay you want, rivalry games, ranked matchups, whatever fits your read. Go safe, you can go bold, you can ride the team that you've been following all season. It's your parlay, it's your style, but now there's more upside to it. So make sure to head to FanDuel.com to get started. That is FanDuel.com. FanDuel, play your game. Welcome to the 5-hour energy draft with 18 flavors to choose from, including new options like Confetti Craze, Fruity Rainbow, or Cotton Candy. There's something for everyone. The board is set, the flavors are ready, and my personal number one pick is going to go to grape. Its Concord grape flavor is similar to grape juice, or candy, or jam. It has a consistent, straightforward taste and classic purple candy style finish that always has me going back for more. A sleeper pick from this draft, for me, is also Hawaiian Breeze. You feel the breeze, you taste the caffeine. It's made with passion fruit. It's made with orange and some guava flavors. Nice tropical flavors. It's sweet and smooth. It's tangy yet tart. I'm pretty sure Parker, down actually living in Arizona, is going to love it. 5-hour energy shots give you that boost. Zero sugar. Don't worry about it. Find your new flavor of 5-hour energy shots available online. 5hourenergy.com. So Parker, ASU baseball had that great Oklahoma result. Then we get some games that didn't go all that well against SEC teams, but we're back on the wagon. 29-4 is a baseball score. I promise you. Good to see that we are in fact beating the teams that we are supposed to beat.
Yeah, largest run total since 2005. And to me, this shows that ASU, they're a team that when they're comfortable, they can explode. And they're a team that, quite frankly, they have an offensive explosion unlike any other team. But as we saw against the SEC teams, when they play teams that have just as powerful as an offense, their lack of defense kind of gets exposed. Not that that showed up in this series against LMU, just something to consider as we go forward into the season as we continue to talk about this team. But getting to this game as a whole, 29 runs off 23 hits, something to write home about, but also something to keep in mind is Nu'u Contrades could be out for the foreseeable future. Went down in the first inning, appeared to be something with his hamstring, lower body. Coach William Bloomquist said, I would not anticipate this being a day-to-day thing. Now, you can take this multiple ways, but either way, Nu'u Contrades is somebody who has struggled with injury, and it appears as if there might be another tough recovery for Contrades in the horizon. But obviously, all best wishes to him. But it's now ASU baseball is going to have some more questions to answer.
Upsides and downsides of playing a ton of games over the course of a season. On the one hand, you get injured early, maybe you can come back by the end, but it's just a lot of wear on the body. I know people like to talk about, look at the wear and tear on your body from football and in basketball. And look, baseball, you're just sprinting 90 feet and you're swinging a bat. Who cares? No, it is a lot. It is a ton of wear and tear, as we said. And unfortunately, Nu'u Contrades fallen down here, which is, we sang his praises a week and a half ago, I think 2 weeks ago when we were talking about him, because an infielder, a second baseman that hits for power, that hits for average as well, that's not all that common. So I'm not quite sure. It's going to be interesting now to figure out exactly how we can go and recover from this one, right? Because again, yes, does ASU baseball have other people that can play second base? Yes, they do, but they're not Nu'u Contrades.
Yeah, it's going to be a very trying period for ASU to find somebody that matches the output. But the good news is for ASU is they do have some depth pieces. They've been trying out a couple different guys. Mentality-wise, I think this team is ready to answer the bell. I mean, they tried Austin Rolig to fill him in. That's who actually they had fill in for Contrades in the lineup. But they had Finn Leach actually fill in the middle infield spot. And these are two guys that I think in the future are expected to fill in Contrades' spot. So whether they're ready for it now, we'll find out because they're kind of getting thrust into the spotlight. But this is still a team that I would not stress too heavily about when it comes to, oh, they lost Contrades, their offense, it's gone. That's their main offensive piece. Sure, are you going to miss Contrades because he'll have an amazing play per series? Yes. But you're not going to miss him too much because of the other offensive pieces. Like, how about Beckett Savorik, Landon Harrison, Dominic Smaldino, PJ Moutsouridis? I mean, this is a team that has highlight player after highlight player. I'd even name Dean Toigo in that mix. I mean, this is an ASU team that has highlight player after highlight player. They'll be A-okay, but at the same time, something tells me as we get deeper into conference play, when depth becomes a question, we're going to start to be looking at the reports and being like, when is Nu'u Contrades coming back? We miss him.
Yeah, it's one of those things where no one player is ever going to be the majority of your offense because, well, there's a batting order. And even if you get on base every single time, people need to bring you home. So it is nice. Again, we do have these other pieces. I just wish we had them for the game today because the more runs we can hang on the school down south, the happier I am. Doesn't matter the sport. Doesn't matter runs or goals or points or touchdowns. The more we can hang on them, the happier I will be. So if you're paying attention, by the way, ASU plays the University of Arizona tonight, 6:35 p.m. Mountain Time. That's going to be fun. You get a nice doubleheader. ASU basketball takes down Baylor in the morning to advance in the tournament. And then we get started in our Territorial Cup victory in baseball later on. It's going to be a good day. But that does it for us here today. Tomorrow, we'll be breaking down how ASU Baylor went. Hopefully, we're going to be talking about ASU's fantastic 20-point victory. Looking forward to the next game they're going to play. We'll see what happens with that one. If ASU baseball does fun things with Arizona, we'll talk about that and whatever else is happening. But for now, thank you so much for joining us. If you haven't already, again, go check out the Everydayer Club. Through the month of March, we're running the Bracket Challenge. You can get a month free with promo code MARCH. You can go hang out with Parker and I in the Discord. It's a great deal. It's a good time. And yeah, you still get the ad-free listening on on Supercast, so you can make sure that you don't have to listen to the ads. That's always great. But for those of you on video, we're going to send you the first ever 24/7 national Locked On podcast platform over on YouTube. And if you're on audio, it's officially March. That means March Madness is right around the corner. Make sure your second listen is Locked On College Basketball so they can keep you up to date and let you know all the storylines you need to be paying attention to in college basketball. But that's it for us. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you tomorrow morning.